let's learn about inequality symbols. So say we have something like this, x, and we've got this symbol right over here, that symbol, and then a number next to it, 1. What does this mean? Well, this symbol right over here is read as greater than 1. So this is read x is greater than 1. And that literally means what you might think it means. X is greater or a bigger number than 1. And how I like to think about it is pretending that this number right over here is a fish. A fish. And this fish only eats the biggest number. Only eats the biggest number. So we can see here, x is greater than 1. And how can we graph this here on our number line? Well, x does not equal 1. It is greater than 1. That means x can be 1.000001, and it's still greater than 1. So let's graph that on the number line over here. It is really, really close to 1, but it doesn't equal 1. And it's greater. So all of this stretching that way. X is greater than 1. And let me be very clear here. X does not equal 1. It is greater than 1, and it is a tiny bit bigger. A tiny bit bigger. All right. Let's take a look at our second example. X is less than 1. Less than 1. Now, what does this mean? Well, that sort of means the same thing as here, except it's flipped. That means x is less than 1. It means x is not equal to 1. It is less than 1. But it can be 0.99999 as long as it is not 1. That means if we look at graph this on our number line over here, we can have a number right here, very, very close to 1. And it's less than 1. That means it's every number less than 1, down that way. Now, again, let me be very clear. This does not equal 1. It is very close to 1, but it's less than 1. All right, let's take a look at our third inequality symbol. And that is a symbol that looks like this. So we got x is greater than or equal to 1. So we already learned the greater than symbol right over here. X is greater than 1, but now we have the equal symbol 2. That means x is greater than or equal to 1. That means x can equal 1. So right over here, plot that point, x does equal 1. X is equal to 1 or x is greater than 1. That means it can be 1 or any number bigger than 1. Excellent. Now let's go to our other inequality symbol that we'll see often, and that is x is less than, and I think you're catching on now, hopefully, x is less than or equal to 1. And what that means is same concept as this, except that this time x is equal to 1 or x is less than 1. That means x can be 1, so we can graph this. X can be 1, and it's any number less than 1. So x can be equal to 1 or any number less than that. So we can graph that just like that. Now are some special inequality symbols that we'll see sometimes, but they're not as common as these four. These four you'll be seeing a lot. Now these other two I'm going to talk about aren't seen as often, but they are still seen. This would be something like pi, and if you don't know what pi is, that's okay. Pi is just a number, a very, very long number. It's a long number in disguise, so the number looks like this symbol right over here that they call it pi. But what this number in disguise is just really a really, really big number. So I could say pi is approximately equal to 3.14. In real life, this number is super long. Pi is like 3.1415.9, and it keeps on going and going and going. So I could say pi is approximately 3.14. And a lot of times we'll approximate this. So that's what an approximation is, or this squiggly symbol means approximately equal to, because that's not the exact number, but it's kind of close. So if you wanted to graph that, you could say, well, It's not exactly 3.14, but it's sort of like right here. And this would just be a dot because it's just one number. So it's approximately around there. Approximately, but not 100%. Now let's take a look at our last inequality symbol. Let me scroll down a little bit. So let's say we have x is not equal to 1. X is not equal to 1. What does this mean? Well, it literally means what it says. X is not equal to, and that's why there's a line going right through it, because it's not equal to 1. But that means x can be 0.99999, and x can be 1.00001, and it's still correct. All that this means is x is not equal to exactly 1. So if we wanted to graph that, we could say, well, it's super close to 1, but it's not 1, so it can be any number that way. And it can be a tiny little bit next to it and any number less than that, as long as it is not 1. So let me be very clear, it is not 1. And like I said, those aren't as common as these other symbols right over here that we're talking about. X is greater than 1, that means it is not equal to 1, but it can be any number up to infinity. You know, it can be 5, x can equal 5, x can equal 4, it can be 3, but it's not equal to 1. X is less than 1, that means it is not equal to 1, but it can be any number smaller, so it could be negative 5 if you wanted it to be, it could be negative 3, whatever number, as long as it's not 1. X is greater than or equal to 1, that means that x does equal 1. X does equal 1, and it can be any number bigger. X is less than or equal to 1. It means x can equal 1 or any number smaller. And then we have the approximately symbol. It's approximately equal to 3.14. That means it's super big, but we kind of just shorten it and make it easier to understand. So it's about 3.14. If you wanted to graph it, it would be something kind of like that. And then x is not equal to 1. That means it can be any number right next to it or any number to the super close to it, but it's not equal to 1. You can think of it like a fish. This is a mouth. It is always eating the number that is bigger. So it likes to eat the biggest number. So x over here is not going to be as big as 1 because it's eating the biggest number. So you'd say x is less than 1 or 1 is greater than x. They're both the same thing. I hope this video was helpful, and like always, stay positive.